Something finally happened. Finally! We've been waiting for weeks. Something finally happened. I honestly, at this point, can't even remember the last thing that happened with the Golden Knights. I think it was the Leonard injury was the last thing we talked about. But we have good news today. Now, that $5 million in cap space, the long-term injury to goalie Robin Leonard, has given the Vegas Golden Knights a lot of money to go out and do stuff. And why not go sign a lightning rod and a player? You know, we already have a very loudmouth number 81 in Jonathan Marchessault. He's a really fun player. We all really enjoy what he does for the team. He's a big guy, he's a big guy in a little body, scores important goals. He's got personality up the wazoo. And you know what? He's got number 81, which is a good number. So let's get in another one. Because the Vegas Golden Knights signed fellow number 81 Phil Kessel to a 1-year, $1.5 million contract. This is an incredible deal. He's an incredible player. He's one of those free agencies that may or may not have misplayed his hand at the start of free agency this year. And now he's landed a much reduced contract for the player he is on a better team than when he was with the Arizona Coyotes. So all in all, this is a really good deal. Phil Kessel gets another year of hockey, and we get a very motivated player. He's a sandpaper player. He's got a lot of talent. He's got 2 Stanley Cups. He's exactly what the team needs right now. Last year with the Arizona Coyotes, he played all 82 games, which shouldn't come as a surprise given he's got the second longest games played streak in NHL history, with 8 goals, 44 assists for a round total of 52 points. That doesn't seem like a lot of goals for a player of his caliber, but you got to remember, he was playing for the Coyotes, and the Coyotes essentially fielded an American Hockey League team. I remember watching the Tucson Roadrunners, their farm team, play at some point in the American Hockey League last year, and I was thinking, what is this, an ECHL team? Well, it essentially was an ECHL team because the AHL team was playing in the NHL arena. Well, I guess it's fair to call it not the NHL arena anymore because they don't play there anymore. But most importantly, Phil Kessel he's got clutch in his DNA. He's played 96 career playoff games. He's got 34 goals and 47 assists for 81 points in his career in the playoffs. That includes 2 Stanley Cups back-to-back with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He knows how to win. He's a really talented player. And while there's some question marks with his health, with his foot speed, with his defensive abilities, what better team to put him on than a very defensive-minded Vegas Golden Knights, especially when they're going to have to counter needing to score a couple more goals this season to make up for the fact that they don't have their day-to-day starting goalie in Robin Leonard, and likely isn't going to start the season with their day-to-day backup in Laurent Brossoit. So it doesn't help, or definitely doesn't hurt to be picking up a goal or 2 a night, whether it be from players like Nick Waugh we re-signed, or new addition Phil Kessel. One of the things I'm most excited about is the fact that he adds grit and experience anywhere in the lineup. He was playing up and down the lineup in Arizona despite being one of their few recognizable players aside from Jacob Chychrun. But he's going to fit in really, really well with the Golden Knights for no matter where we put him. The best place I can think of him being is net front in the power play. I remember when he was really, really in his prime in Pittsburgh, I remember him being just an ultimate net front presence akin to one like Joe Pavelski. You know, sure, he's not as good at tipping in pucks as Joe is, but at the same time, Joe Pavelski's making $11 billion to play for the Dallas Stars right now, and we got Phil Kessel for $1.50. It's essentially pennies on the dollar for what he's worth on a normal free agency market. But because it's the end of August and not the beginning of July, he can't fetch as much of a cost because teams don't have as much cap space to spend anymore. So really, this situation worked out really, really well for the Golden Knights, really, really well for Phil Kessel, and not very well for the rest of the Pacific Division, who's going to have to deal with them again after getting booted to the Central last year. So Phil the Thrill, he's sticking around. While I'm really happy that he's on the team, I'm not quite sure where he fits, but that's because he's such a Swiss Army knife of a player. Like, if we look at the logical place to put him would be on that top line with Mark Stone and Jack Eichel. Just because, you know, that's a solid line, and he would add much needed assist depth. He could feed the puck to Jack just as well as Stone can. But another place that I could think to put him, because of his alleged defensive zone liabilities, you could put him on the second line, move up our number 81, Jonathan Marchessault, up to the front line, where he played a lot of games last year, especially with Pacioretty injured, and put Phil Kessel, who can be a pure goal scorer again, on a line with Riley Smith and William Karlsson, who are 2 of the strongest defensive 2-way forwards we have on the team. And those 2 forwards put together on the penalty kill are like the second best penalty killing forward pair in the NHL for the last few years. So that would take his mind off of playing defense, which his stats aren't very good at. He had a shaky plus minus for the last few years, but again, Arizona. And put him with those players, and he will be able to be a pure goal scorer again and be more aggressive, be a roving forward and, a disturber like he's been for the prime part of his career, especially when he was in Pittsburgh. That's how he was used in Pittsburgh when he was put on a line with Crosby and Malkin. He doesn't necessarily need to be the one to make a line go, but he needs some backup on him. And hence why he was such how he was such an indispensable player on those Stanley Cup teams for Pittsburgh, because he was able to do that. The one little bit of trivia that I love about Phil Kessel is the fact that he just never stops playing. He's exactly what I would be as a hockey player. He loves the sport so very much. And he's likely to set the NHL Ironman record for the most consecutive games played pretty early in the next season. I think he only has to play like 7 more games. So I'm not sure if he's going to do it at home. I haven't really looked that far ahead on the schedule, but the fact that he's going to do it in a Golden Knights uniform it's one of those things that we're going to enjoy. Another milestone that he's going to set, let alone NHL records are impressive, and to do it in the black and gold, or rather the gold and black, it's a cool thing. But the fact of the matter is the next goal he scores is his 400th career goal. So he's going to set a career milestone and an NHL milestone in a Golden Knights jersey, which is something to be excited about. The interesting thing is, though, he's now our franchise leader in goal scores for his career, but, that's neither here nor there. He's been playing since I think I was 12. No, he's been in the league for way longer than that. He's been playing since I was 8. So I've never really known a season without Phil Kessel, and the fact that he's on my favorite team is just a bonus. He's a really good player. The way that this contract really makes a lot of sense for me and makes me really excited is the way it contextualizes our entire offseason. Now, I know as a Golden Knights fan, and I'm sure as the front office of the team, nobody expected Robin Lehner to go down for injury the entire season. And nobody expected, Laurent Brossoit to happen. And I'm sure we all expected Max Pacioretty to go. I'm convinced at this point we knew he was going to need to get ankle surgery, so we were going to lose him to the deadline anyway. But the thing that makes this more interesting is you can break this trade down a little differently. Whereas up until this point, we've been talking about, it's cost, Nick Suzuki and, a first-round pick and Tomas Tatar and Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs and Max Pacioretty and Dylan Coghlan to get Jack Eichel. Which is all well and true, and that's relatively a true position to take. But the fact of the matter is, with this signing, we can actually recontextualize this offseason to say, in the aggregate, we traded Max Pacioretty and Dylan Coghlan for Phil Kessel and $5.5 million in cap relief. When you contextualize it like that, this offseason's actually been a slam dunk for the Golden Knights. There's no way, absolutely no way, that anybody could see this as a bad offseason with these moves. Kessel's a great player. He's got a lot of hockey left in him. And if we knew that Pacioretty was going to be out for the majority of this season with the injury, it makes sense that we shipped him off because we weren't going to get any value for him anyway. So whether we got future considerations now or got future considerations at the trade deadline, we were kind of out Pacioretty regardless. And he was going to walk at the end of next season anyway, just because he was up to being a UFA and he was going to want more money. And obviously we're a cap-strapped team. We can't afford it. So the way that this has changed the perspective on the offseason is really a beneficial thing. It makes me feel a lot happier with the management group. This may have saved Kelly McCrimmon's job. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but this may be the best move he's made as the general manager of the Golden Knights. And now we can look at it from the Phil Kessel perspective. How do you think Phil Kessel feels right now? He gets to come to a really fun environment in the Fortress. He gets to play with really good players, some of which are, experienced players like him. Imagine him, the dynamic between him and Alex Pietrangelo, him and Mark Stone, him and a little bit Jack Eichel, because they played in the same division for a little bit. And, him and Alec Martinez they've gone back. And so it's, they're all experienced players and they all have a lot to offer to the Golden Knights. But from his perspective, he's got to be excited because he gets to play in front of 18,000 people every night in the Fortress. If he had stuck in Arizona, we all know where he'd be playing right now. He'd be playing on a college campus. And I'm sure that's not exactly how he wants to envision the tail end of his career. He's an older guy, I'll admit, but there's nothing wrong with being old. He's experienced and he's going to be surrounded by young players. Imagine what he'll be able to teach players like Nick Waugh or potentially Ivan Morozov or Brendan Brisson. Prospects that are going to be coming up that have such a long time in the organization, who have such long careers ahead of them, to be able to talk to a guy who's at the tail end of his career and has accomplished so much, winning 2 Stanley Cups. He's a multiple-time All-Star. I think he's won 4 Lady Byng awards. He's an incredible player, and, he's got so much that he could teach our younger players that this may not be just bringing in Phil Kessel, the player. This may be bringing in Phil Kessel, the person, which is equally as exciting as the player because, he's got a little bit of swagger. He's the one guy who ate hot dogs out of the Stanley Cup. He's a cool guy. and he's going to blend into the Vegas atmosphere about as seamlessly as anybody else can. I'm just excited that we were able to get this deal done before training camp, so we can have a full camp and get to know people, get out to Las Vegas, hang out with the guys, go to dinner with Jonathan Marchessault at his house, and flip a coin over who gets to wear 81 next year. So all in all, this has been a really exciting week. I'm gonna go out on a limb and make a prediction that the contract with Nicholas Hague has been done, and we just can't announce it because of cap restrictions, because we can only announce so much until all the players on injury reserve get moved to LTIR when the camp starts. So I wouldn't worry so much about the Nick Hague contract, because it's coming. Because I find it really hard to believe that we would sign a forward before signing our most outstanding RFA left. So I wouldn't be worried if I were a fan. But the other unfortunate thing this does is this probably means that the offer sheet for a goaltender like Jake Ottinger is probably gone the way of the dodo. So there's really nothing we can do about that. We're going to go into the year with a really, really good team. And the one thing I've been reading, all the talking heads, whether it be in Toronto or whether it be in New York or whether it be in Vegas, everybody, this signing has essentially shifted the outlook of the Golden Knights season from fighting for contending to actually being a contender again, because Phil Kessel has that way about him. He's a great player. He's a great person. He's exciting. He's sandpaper. He's exactly what the team needs. A little bit of grit, a little bit of ferocity to, teach Keegan Colasar how to fight, a little bit of experience to teach young players and prospects how to score, and Stanley Cup pedigree to help push us over the hump hopefully this year. So just to recap, Phil Kessel signs with the Vegas Golden Knights, 1 year, $1.5 million. Looking to rebound off of a slow year with the Arizona Coyotes, this is a great deal for both the Golden Knights and for Phil Kessel, the player. I'm excited to see what he's able to do. I'm curious what line they're going to try him out in on the preseason and during the early part of the year. But that's what's fun about it. That's what's fun about watching the games. We get to see the dynamic grow between players. I personally think he's going to get placed on the second line with players like William Karlsson and Riley Smith, just because of their defensive prowess and Phil's scoring prowess. Okay? He's Phil the Thrill for a reason. I'm sure he's going to bring a lot of thrill to the Fortress this coming season, and I'm excited to see what he's got in the tank for us.